President Ogilvy.
Present. Okay, with that, then we'll move on to public presentation. Chief, you want to step up? I'll turn it all over to you.
Thank you, sir. George Huang, CAL FIRE San Luis Obispo, Battalion Chief, your local battalion chief. Thank you for this opportunity to present a pretty special award for our little Olivia Gonzalez that we had a special fundraiser for during the fire fair. And at this time, can you please, if you don't mind, David, if you could take her up to the front along with our firefighters and Carrie. Right around the back, please. So as everybody is aware, we did a fundraiser during our fire fair for Olivia. She's 4 years old now, and what happened was in July, her and her family were visiting Montana de Oro, and she came across a fire pit. Unfortunately, as we know, fire pits are dangerous to everybody else if they're not properly maintained and extinguished. Well, the fire pit was not extinguished, and Olivia walked across the fire pit and burned both her feet. That she suffered second and third degree burns. So with that, during the fire fair, we had all of our proceeds were directed to our local Los Osos little girl Olivia. So we raised over $2,500 for her and her family for any type of medical and any type of anything that she needs that can for future doctor visits. So with that, Carrie, can you please present to Olivia $2,629 for her?
Thank you, everybody.
Let's say squish in a little bit.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Does she want to say a few words?
Do you want to say anything, Olivia? Okay.
You're welcome.
What do you want to say? Talk in the microphone.
I like to say thank you
For everything.
for everything for me.
Thank you, everybody. We truly appreciate this for us from the bottom of our hearts. We truly grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to item 3, public hearing to adopt ordinance number 2019-02. So
I'll take that.
you guys rearrange the tables. I used to look over there.
Yes, thank you very much, members of the board and public. This is a public hearing regarding amending Title II of the District's Code that includes sections 2.01.20 and sections 2.0207. Section 201.20 reflects changes recommended by the Utilities Advisory Committee and the subsequent approval by the board at your July 11th, 2019 meeting to remove the language stating that all credits are suspended completely if and when the district reaches stage 3 of the water shortage contingency plan. So that's reflected in the amendments. Section 2.02.07, we had to make significant changes to this section in order to be consistent with new state law, Senate Bill 998, which promulgates new rules on how the district can discontinue water service. This legislation builds on existing law that every human has a right to water, and it needs to be safe, clean, affordable, and accessible by providing, among other things, added protections for low-income households, extending the period of time before a water purveyor can discontinue service, and for payment and notification procedures that must be followed. And then lastly, we did make some edits to formatting, correcting some grammatical errors and renumbering of sections. The Utilities Advisory Committee at their September 18th meeting recommended to the board that the changes be adopted. In terms of fiscal impacts, they're unknown at this point for the discontinuance of service part of the ordinance because it could have a negative impact because of the extension of time before collection, discontinuance of service can happen, which could impact cash flow. But we will monitor that and make any recommended changes if we're seeing any problems with that. As far as the impacts of allowing credits, that should be negligible, but again, we will also be monitoring that. And with that, any questions?
Okay, we'll go to public comment then on this item. Item 3A. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. Any further discussion? Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the board adopt on second reading by title only ordinance 2019-02, amending and restating Title II of the District Code.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a resolution, so we'll need a roll call.
Director Millage,
Yes.
Director Womack,
Yes.
Director Forkroyd,
Yes.
President Obilski.
Yes. Okay, with that, then we'll move on to the, for public comment for items not on the agenda. You want to talk about needs and wishes, Richard? I'll give you a few. I'll give you a few extra minutes,
Okay,
Richard.
thank you. The reason I'm doing it at this meeting is because your next meeting got moved to the 12th, which is 2 days before the event, so it won't play live on, it won't play on the rerun. 14 years ago, Jerry Walsh and I and a couple of other people in town, Gwen Taylor, Rose Krantz, people like that, had an idea that we could start a fundraiser in Los Osos to help the homeless. That first fundraiser was kind of by the shoestrings. We raised almost $19,000. We were ecstatic with that. Last year was the 13th. This is the 14th. After last year's event, we crossed the $500,000 raised figure. And what's unique about this event is we have no overhead. For those of you who've been, everything in the room is donated. So we have no overhead. Every penny raised that day goes to the charities that benefit from it. This year's recipients are the 40 Prado homeless shelter, the one that was completed a year ago, the Nor Clinic, which is the free clinic in San Luis with branches now in Paso, and they now have a dental clinic. They've always had the eye clinic. They've expanded over the years. This is their 8th year in existence, and we've donated to them 6 years. And then the third recipient this year is the People Helping People portable shower project for the homeless, which we hope to have fully funded and up and running sometime in the next few months. The event is December 14th, right after the Chamber of Commerce Christmas Parade. Parade kind of ends and everybody filters into the room. It's from 10 in the morning till 6 in the evening. We cut off the silent auction and then start reading the raffle winners. We have a toy store. If you're planning on giving a toy to either Toys for Tots or Operation Santa Claus, you can come buy a toy at the toy store. The barrels from Operation Santa Claus from the fire station will be near the toy store for you to drop those in. Last year, Operation Santa Claus got 7.5 barrels of toys from the community, from the toy store. It's also a great place to buy toys for, kids, grandchildren, nieces and nephews. We have a bake sale. This year's theme is artisan breads. There'll also be cookies and those type of things, but the bake sale will have hundreds and hundreds of items at it. We have a raffle, a children's raffle, gift certificate table with gift certificates from local restaurants and establishments in town. We also have a silent auction. Last year, and on average, we usually have anywhere from 300 to 350 items. It's a great place to do your Christmas shopping. A lot of people come and do that. And we also have hamburgers, hot dogs, cookies, free cookies, soda, water, coffee. It's an event that anybody can come to. It's free admission. If you just want to come in and get in the holiday spirit, this is the event to come to. We also have entertainment on stage all day. We have the Japanese taiko drummers this year are at 2 o'clock. The Victoria Lowry's Joyous Voices are at 1 o'clock. The folk dancers and the big rock balalaikas are between 3:30 and 5. And Colleen Wall's Community Choir is at 5 o'clock. I don't know what else to say. Many of you have been there before. It's a great event. The turnout has been fabulous ever since we started it, and it means a lot to the recipients of the event. And donations are tax deductible if you need that deduction. We're a 501(c), so we can give you a receipt. So December 14th, 10 o'clock till 6, the community center. If you need to get in the Christmas spirit, this is the event. Thank you.
Well, Richard, do you want to give the phone number in case anybody wants to contact you?
Yes. If there's anyone out there who would like to donate to the silent auction, the toy store, like I said, the silent auction has all kinds of items, gift certificates, artwork, appliances, kitchen appliances, those type of things. You can call 805-528-5800. 805-528-5800.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the administrative committee reports. Can we have the fire department report, please? By the way, thank you for that previous item. That was really nice.
Thank you. Good evening again, George Wong, Cal Fire, San Luis Obispo County Fire, and your battalion chief. For the month of September 25th to October 29th, your Station 15 firefighters ran a total of 150 calls. That was up 1% from last year. Last year was 149 calls. Out of the 150 calls, 88 of them were medical aids, 4 of them were medical violence calls, 19 traffic collisions, 8 fires, 1 vehicle fire, 6 hazardous materials calls, 18 public assists, and 6 fire alarms. To give you a general for the numbers, from the South Coast moving south, the cities down there ran a total of 164 calls, where our Los Osos was at 150. So even just comparing communities, different cities, we ran a lot of calls this month. For this, a couple weeks ago, or actually last week, Fire Captain Chris Peterson, Paramedic Peterson, retired after 40 years. And Ron, your general manager, came up there and presented a plaque to Chris, and he was very surprised, and he didn't know that we were going to do that. And during the pizza for dinner, we had an announcement over the radio that celebrated his career with Cal Fire, and he is off to enjoy time with his grandkids and family over in Visalia. Operation Santa Claus, thank you, Richard, is up and running at Station 15. So if you have any food or toy drives or presents, please come up to the station and drop them off. And we want to collect as much as we can for this holiday season. And the last thing is, a few weeks ago we did have a fire at the library on the exterior, and luckily our firefighters were quick on the response and we extinguished the fire. The cause is still under investigation. We have our Fire Prevention Bureau on it, but just wanted to let you know that things with a quick response from the fire station, we saved the library and there was no damage at all, minimal, only to the exterior to the library. Other than that, end of report. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have sheriff representative here? Oh, sorry. I didn't see you behind Jose
It's
there.
all right,
My
I'm sure
apologies.
That hasn't changed much throughout my life. Good evening, my name's Sandra Arouza. I'm the sergeant here assigned to Los Osos Coast Station. I have the monthly statistics for October. The calls for service for the month of October were 594. That's up from last year, this month being 530. We took a total of 77 reports for that month, down from 88 reports this month last year. We didn't take any assault and battery reports for this month. There was 44 disturbance calls. The variations of dispositions for these calls resulted in arrests for drug in public, domestic violence, violation of restraining orders, bless you, and checking the welfare of others. There were 3 burglary reports, or calls for service for burglary. 2 reports were taken. One was from the 700 block of Highland. Items were taken from the home. The entry was believed to be through the dog door in that incident. No suspects were ID'd. The 1600 block of 16th Street, there was a vehicle's window that was broken and items were taken. We had 13 reported thefts, 10 reports were taken. The one was in the 1600 block of 18th Street. A bike was taken with the value from the yard of that residence with the value of $300. The 1200 block of 12th Street, there was registration tags taken from a vehicle. The 1100 block of 15th Street, there was tools taken from the bed of a pickup truck that was parked at the residence. We had 5 calls for vandalism. 1 report was taken from the 2000 block of 10th Street in which the vehicle was vandalized. We did not have any mail theft reports. We had 5 reports for phone scams. There were no victims in any of these reports. There was no loss. They were all just reported and made us aware of them. We had 21 calls for suspicious circumstances. 2 reports were taken, one in which was from the 1300 block of 18th Street for a report of a suspicious vehicle that was driving between other vehicles. This was from an open field. Other calls consisted of follow-up calls from the deputies from our own calls for service, whether they were generated on their own or for investigations that needed follow-up. Others were assisting other agencies, and that can be from assisting medics, fire, CHP. And that's all for October. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jose, utility report?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. President, Board of Directors, members of the community. My name is Jose Acosta. I am your Utility Systems Manager for the Los Osos CSD. Tonight, I'll be giving you the utility report for the month of September 2019. We'll start off with the water production figures for September of 2019. We produced approximately 14.5 million gallons for the month. That equated to a daily demand of approximately 485,000 gallons per day. And this represents a decrease from production from last year of approximately 2.69%. I'm using the state's formula to calculate the residential usage per capita per day for the month of September. Our residential customers use approximately 64.9 gallons per day per person. And that's a decrease from 66.6 gallons per day per person of last year. Next, we'll discuss the production and runtime hours by the well sites. As you could see, most of the well Palisades dropped from 3.58 million gallons last year to 2.16 million gallons of production this year. 8th Street produced a little more than last year, as well as 10th Street and South Bay Lower Aquifer. The runtime hours reflect these as well. Next, I'll be discussing the water billing information. 43% of the service area was billed for the month of September, and we billed for approximately 12.59 million gallons. And that generated approximately $224,000 in revenue for the district. Moving on to utility department operations and maintenance. During the month of September 2019, the utility crews performed all required operation and maintenance tasks. The various tasks and facilities maintained are daily, weekly, and monthly water quality sampling, analysis and reporting for all well sites throughout the distribution system, the monthly meter reading. They perform fire hydrant maintenance program, complete work on decommissioning of Bay Ridge septic tanks, which was a project that was a few years in the waiting. And I'm glad to report that we did come in under budget for not just the removal of the product at those septic tanks, but also for the decommissioning as well. We continued groundkeeping at all sites, maintenance and clean out of the South Bay brine tank. And we received and prepared a 1,000-gallon tank that we purchased this year with the budget, and that'll be utilized for any projects that we have where we have flushing of the main lines or flushing of hydrants. That way we can reutilize that water instead of dumping it on the ground or putting it back into the soils. The drainage facilities were also maintained during the month of September. And as you could see, the rainfall totals, we haven't reached the rainy season yet. Hopefully it's on its way and getting here soon. With that being said, I'll take any questions from the board.
Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, general manager's report, Ron.
Good evening again, Ron Menz. I have a brief report tonight. We continued on our annual financial audit. Auditors completed all their in-office work during October. We're expecting a draft audit in the beginning of December, and we continue to answer the questions and requests from that audit team. I've continued to do fairly extensive work to complete what was supposed to be the final draft of the 8th Street well grant. Got another request yesterday, which I completed today, which hopefully is the last before it gets submitted, but we'll see. It should be finalized in November. It'll go to the board, San Luis Obispo County Board of Supervisors, and then submitted to DWR in December. I did give a presentation to a realtors group, the Scenic Coast Realtors Association, over in Morro Bay on October 25th on Los Osos water issues. It was very well attended and I think well received. And then I've been working with Laura and Adrian on our NBS and US Bank transition from the refi of the bond. We're getting all the banking in order with the US Bank, who is our fiscal agent. We'll be closing out some accounts and new accounts have been opened. So we're sorting through that. And with that, I could take any questions.
Any questions? Okay. LOCAC.
Good evening, David Harris from LOCAC. On our meeting, we had our county liaison, Carrie Brown, announce a meeting for October 28th, which is going to be on the draft EIR and also the recently released Habitat Conservation Plan. Unfortunately, I was in Monterey on that Monday, but our own Lynette attended and made a recording of it, which is now on our website, locac.info, if anybody is interested. Thank you, Lynette. We also had a gentleman from Public Works discussing several things, including a request to plant trees on the vacant space at the corner of South Bay and LOVR, as well as a proposal to the Board of Supervisors for an amended road fee ordinance. When asked what a road fee was, he began to explain, and then Supervisor Gibson stepped in to explain to us that it is a fee attached to new development, which hasn't been much of an issue here in Los Osos lately. And they are calculated to cover the share of future problems that any new development would create. People ask, well, what about fixing existing problems? And these funds are not to be used to cover any existing road deficiencies, we learned. They also talked about accessor dwelling units, AKA granny units, in that they would not require a full road fee, I guess because they're smaller. Supervisor Gibson said they were looking to see the community plan hearings before the Planning Commission early next year, and hopefully by mid-year, it will go to the Board of Supervisors to be approved and certified. After that, it would go to the Coastal Commission. So perhaps all that may happen next year. A lot of things happening next year. We only had one consent item and one regular agenda item that were both approved unanimously. The consent item was, I believe, removing a deck and adding another deck or something like that. Anyway, no problem there. The regular agenda item was a proposed minor use permit for installing approximately 13,000 feet of new underground conduit containing fiber optic cable that's going to run along the entire length of South Bay Boulevard from Santa Isabel to Quintana. And it's probably they're going to do it in 1,500-foot increments. So supposedly it will have that huge of an impact. It will probably take no more than a month or so, depending on the weather, depending on when they start. And of course, we will expect to see expect delay signs prominently displayed. Finally, we had a discussion about how best to become more and better informed about the draft EIR and the community plan, which ultimately led to a study group forming outside of LOCAC, but with LOCAC members and members of the public. And I believe they held their first meeting yesterday, Lynette? Okay. Okay. Again, all the links to the draft environmental report and the HCP are all on our locac.info website. Any questions?
Any questions? I just want to piggyback on something. The public comment period for the draft DIR extends to, I think, December 11th. Is that correct?
Right.
December 11th. So you can go on to the LOCAC website or to the county's website and access that if you want to read 2,000 pages or so.
The Habitat Conservation Plan has a different cutoff date.
Right.
And that's this month,
11/18.
yeah, so it's not much time to read that one.
Right. So Habitat Conservation has a comment period up till 11/18 and the EIR till 12/11. But I just wanted to, for public's informational
Yeah, thanks.
purposes.
And there are copies in the library.
Yes.
They're about yay thick if you want to.
Well, 2,000 pages plus. Yes, anyways, thank you. Steve?
Good evening. I'm Steve Vinson with the Los Osos Baywood Park Chamber of Commerce. First, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to those of you who came to our Oktoberfest 2 Sundays ago. It was a great success. I guess the good weather didn't hurt, but everything went smooth. Our number one concern, as always, is safety, and there were no incidences, so it was all good. So if you had a booth there, or you were there just to revel in the beer garden, then anyway, we thank you. So. All right, so get your calendars out. I got a few dates going on here. First one is that one of our oldest members, Rexall, is having an open house this Saturday, November 9, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they'll have refreshments, prizes, beautiful gifts. If you've never, I think most of us have been there, but maybe somebody's watching on television. If you've never been there, it's not your average pharmacy. It's a beautiful little store. You can get all kinds of things. So again, that's this Saturday, November 9, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The Beer at the Pier that occurs every Monday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., usually at the Back Bay Inn. It has now moved indoors and is at the La Palapa restaurant. At La Palapa, you can reserve tables for dining customers, and you'll find yourself at home with the bar, dance floor, and it's lots of fun. It occurs right after the farmers market down on Santa Maria. See's Candy Sales, the Kiwanis Club of Bay Osos is again selling See's Candy as a fundraiser to support the children of Los Osos in Morro Bay. See's Candy is a much appreciated gift for your family, friends, and clients. We will be open Monday, November 25th, and Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And then they'll take the Thanksgiving starting Wednesday. They'll take all that off, and then they'll come back Monday, December 2nd. And then they'll be there till it sells out. I can tell you, they do sell out. Last year, I thought it was going to be okay a week ahead of time. No, they're gone. So it's very popular. It's right by the post office. And the hours are the same as the post office, I believe, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, 9 to 2. So the Los Osos 2019 Christmas Parade will be on, actually it's the 32nd annual Christmas Parade, will be on December 14th, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's put on by the Chamber. Join us for the annual Christmas Parade. Our theme this year is Christmas Through the Decades. Parade applications are available now and must be submitted by December 6th in order to take part in the fun. Decorate and costume yourself, your cars, your floats featuring holidays, 50s, 60s, 70s, or the future, any decade you want. This parade will take place, as I said, on Saturday, December 14, 10 a.m. The parade will follow from Fairchild down to Palisades. Awards will be given to parade entrants in the category of Best Theme, Best Music, Best on Foot, Best Wheels, Best of Animals, and Judges' Favorites. This year's Grand Marshal is Paul Irving of Big Big Slow. Bay Osos Kiwanis will have a pre-parade pancake breakfast at Bay Auto and Tire at the corner of Sunset and Los Osos Valley Road. Follow the parade to the Maxine Lewis Memorial Homeless Shelter fundraiser. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got the right.
Just say needs and wishes.
Thank you. The needs and wishes being held at the South Bay Community Center. The Chamber is looking for, we're looking for volunteers who can commit to 3 hours per week. We have a Wednesday morning or afternoon, Friday afternoons available to assist travelers upon their arrival to Los Osos, and it's open 5 days a week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., to answer questions, give maps and directions, tourism information, chamber materials. Knowledge of local business and area is highly desirable. You'll also provide assistance to the executive director. So if you want to get out the house, or if you know somebody who might want to get involved with the community, it's a great place. You meet people from, all over the state, all over the country, and sometimes, you'll meet somebody from the other side of the world. So give the chamber office a call. And lastly, okay, so we always have an annual trip abroad somewhere. We just had the trip to Ireland that Dawn Roden from the chamber, she went like the week before Oktoberfest. And so anyway, this year they'll be going to the French Riviera, and I don't know, the date is October 16, 2020. I don't have all the details for you, but I'm sure it's going to be exciting. So that's all I have tonight.
It's actually, you missed something.
The night before,
Thank you. You knew what I was going to say.
I don't have any details on it, so I would,
I can speak about that.
yeah, thank you.
The night before the parade, which is December 13th, we'll have our annual Christmas tree lighting at the corner of Palisades and Los Osos Valley Road. Starts at 5 o'clock. There'll be a song fest there, and then there'll be a little show, or pardon me, I shouldn't say show, a little entertainment for children over at the library immediately after. So the 13th at 5 o'clock, Palisades and Los Osos Valley Road. You were waiting for me to add that, I get it.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody got a question, or have a question, I should say?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so utilities, we don't have Chuck here. Do you want to speak about that just briefly? Or should we just pass on that? Okay. Okay, Finance Advisory Committee, we had a brief meeting on Monday. The committee recommended that you approve the warrants and the financial reports that are on tonight's agenda. So, any other? Nothing? Okay, so response to previously asked questions, we did have one outstanding question that about the election debacle, for lack of a better term, and whether we'd be reimbursed our expenses on that. So I'll turn it over to Jeff on that one.
Thank you, President Ohielski, directors of the board. I did look into this, and I did speak with the general manager today about the issue. While we still have additional looking into it to do, we did determine that the county did bill the agency $20,000 for the election. However, we've confirmed that we never paid that money, and the county has never sought, as far as we can tell, to recover the $20,000 that was originally billed. So the district is not out any money as far as the election cost to the county. Now, we do know that there was some attorney time spent with your previous council in regards to trying to unscramble the eggs, I guess is the way to put it. So we'll look into that, see if there's any way to recover any of that cost. But I don't have the answer. But I think the good news is that although you were billed $20,000 for the election, there was no money spent by your board. So that is good news.
Well, thank you for the update. So, before we go to public comment and administrative committee reports, does anybody want to pull any items on the consent agenda? No. Okay, so we'll take public comment for items on the administrative committee reports, including all the items on the consent agenda.
Good evening, I'm Julie Tacker, and I just want to speak to that election question. Get something in writing that you won't ever be billed for that. Seems like you would pay that and then be reimbursed for, because there was an election. They did provide a service. I don't know that it's all of $20,000 because we had a missing candidate or something, but I just think you really need to make it very specific, what's covered, what's not. But we hired special counsel. There was a lawsuit that the district had to defend itself. Legal counsels, both our general counsel and the special counsel ran up some bills, and all of that needs to be included in the final price, and basically an audit of what was spent. And I didn't hear what the result of the lawsuit. I know there was some effort to try to drop it by the plaintiff. So did that ever get resolved? And then, totally different subject. We have a whole lot of new folks in town. Lot of interest in the community plan, lot of interest in the HCP, lot of interest in the water. And back in the day, when we were going through adjudication and all kinds of water conservation education, Rob Miller did a presentation on sort of a basin education. And I think it would be good to either revise that and do it again before he's gone, or ask him to come back and do it, or some other kind of basin management boot camp for people to get up to speed on what really are the issues related to the basin. Because, again, lots of new folks, even people on LOCAC, people on the board, may not have that foundation that's really valuable as we go forward in whatever's before Los Osos. We all know, we're all on the same page is what matters to me. So I'm hoping we can have a basin education again. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Richard Margetson, just real quick. We didn't take the rate increase this last year, and I just wanted to point out, I think it's something to kind of follow. We're down about 300,000 gallons in consumption, but we're up about 40,000 in revenue for the first quarter. So if that gap gets bigger, I think we need to have a discussion, but I can take that offline. The other question I had, I don't think I heard it, was when's the rough draft of the audit or the draft of the audit coming out, and when is the district looking at holding audit, hearing on the audit? Thank you.
Any other public comment on, okay, I'll close public comment. I do have answer to one question. The lawsuit was dismissed. That I know.
Well, and thank you, by the way, Marcia, for your efforts, because I know you personally do a lot of
I appreciate that.
No, especially.
Do you want to respond to the audit question?
The audit question, there's no set schedule, but the auditor has indicated the first week of December, the draft should be out. And of course, we'll have to go through that. It's at the staff level and then take it through committees. Our hope is to have it finalized in January.
Thank you. Okay. So can I have a motion to receive and file the administrative and committee reports and approve the items on the consent agenda, please?
I move that we receive and file the administrative and committee reports and approve the consent agenda as is.
I'll second.
Do we need a roll call here? Is there? Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Director Corcoran?
Yes.
Director Womack?
Yes.
Director Milledge?
Yes.
President Ogilvie?
Yes. Okay, with that, then we'll move to the general action items. We have 3 items. First one will be item 8A, customer wants to have a discussion about a high water bill at 1205 4th Street. So, Ron?
Yes, I have a brief staff report to bring you up to speed on this. As you mentioned, it's the water bill at 1205 4th Street. In September, this account received a high water bill of 107 units, which equates to about a little over $1,200. The district's procedure is to investigate the bills within 2 days of the original read and establish customer contact as soon as possible. In this case, the meter read was correct, indicating that the water did pass through the meter. The work order was generated to have the water crew read the meter once a day for a week to make sure there was no ongoing or sporadic leak that we could detect. The results showed that the water usage was within historical normal range and no leak was present during this time. As noted in the report, this location came up in our recently completed water systems leak survey. The concern was, as our auditor went by and was touching all the meters, this one in particular seemed to be reading high according to the sound. But it was during business hours, so there's no conclusive evidence that there was an ongoing leak at that time. I know these situations are difficult since there's really no explanation of where the water went. My experience is typically they can be a toilet leak, an irrigation problem, but in this case, like I said, there was really no indication of what happened here. The meter is 4 years old, which means it's not even halfway through its meter life. And you have to understand these are mechanical devices that typically, as they get older, they slow down. They don't speed up or read in sporadic nature. Now, it's the district's policy to provide only billing adjustments for water loss from leaks associated, with service lines. In this case, it's unexplained, and so we don't know what was causing the unexplained water use. It is alternatively the board discretion in a case like this to make an adjustment. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
What's their average usage? I mean,
I think
what
we have it
did they
here.
think it should have been?
It's in the staff report.
Yeah, it's back here. Let me find that real quick. It's
you
fairly
look at it.
low.
Like the month before, it looks like it was less than 20 units.
Yeah, a year ago,
So
in September of 2017, pardon me, 2018, it was above 60.
what's,
and they did
what's
have
a
leak at
unit
that
again,
point.
Ron?
The
How many
unit
gallons?
is 748 gallons.
Okay.
So back in, September of 17, it was below 20. In September of 18, it was around, a little below 70.
So normal water use, if you look at that chart, is really between those two high bills.
Right.
It's what we'd call normal water use for this account.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we'll hear from the customer then.
Hello, I'm Lars Lindgren, the owner of the property. Thank you for your time. We received the bill in September for the 107 units, and our average use over the last 16 cycles has been 19 units. I found this really hard to believe because if you look at my bill last year at the same reading in September, we had a major spike. And we thought we found a leak in the irrigation, and this was in 2018, and we repaired it, but the bill, if you see, it keeps spiking. And so we did a lot of things to make sure that we were ensuring that things weren't going our way, including our landscaping. I have 2 landscapers that come by and screen. It was suggested by the CSD that somebody might have been stealing water from us, so we locked all of our spigots. We made sure that all of our filtration systems, everything is very visible. We put in a new hot water heater. Our drain from the hot water heater is very visible. So we've done a lot of things to make sure that we're not wasting water. And so to find this big spike again was really out of the ordinary, and we didn't know what to think of it. So in working with the CSD and Jose, we talked and said that coming in front of the board was our next course of action here. As I said, we've worked really hard with our plumber, with our landscapers to make sure that nothing was leaking. And I've been monitoring the usage from September 13th to today was only 21.24 units. So obviously it wasn't a leak. And I was just very concerned and a little confused and frustrated about how this could be working, because I know everyone said the meters work really well, but it was just really confusing to us because we have gone out of our way back in 2018 to make sure something like this didn't happen again.
Any questions? Thank you.
I guess I own. So, so you're thinking that the meter. Sure. So you're thinking that the meter is malfunctioning, is what you're thinking?
We really looked into it. The only thing that we can look into in that cycle last year was there was a backflow test, but I don't think that anything would have happened during a backflow test to make that meter go. We really, put our minds to it last year because we didn't want to get any more high bills and we don't want to waste water. So we've really gone out of our way to do it. So to see this bill come back again the same time in the next year was just very confusing for us.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bring it back to you guys for a discussion here. Oh, that's right. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Bring it back to the board.
Well, I mean, I think that I don't think that the meter is lying. I think the water went through the meter, like our staff is saying, and I think it went somewhere. But obviously, we're not sure where it went.
We can't all just sit here silent, It seems to me, looking at, I mean, there's been a spike in the 3 years, that there's a regular September spike, which seems kind of weird to me when you go back through the bills, but nothing to this level, so I don't know what to say. It just seems to me that we may be able to come up with some sort of middle ground, for lack of a better term, but I don't understand why every September it spikes like that.
I may suggest, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to ask what your middle ground suggestion was, so if you have a suggestion.
Well, of course, the options are to go with district policy and not do anything. As you heard from the customer, they've been trying really hard. So we could do what we'd call a standard adjustment. Let's say it was like a service line leak. But we definitely condition that if it happens again next September, we wouldn't consider, or any other time actually consider an adjustment. So I think that's middle ground, is to consider what we'd call a standard adjustment on this. So I believe those would be my two options you could consider.
Well, there's the third option, just to go back to whatever. I mean, I just think, I don't know. I think there should be some adjustment, because it seems bizarre that, to me, that this has happened in the last couple of Septembers, and it sounds like they've been doing a really good job to try to secure their water so it wouldn't leak or it wouldn't be stolen, for lack of a better term. So it just seems to me that, I don't want to reward bad behavior, but it seems to me that they're trying to do everything they can, and your middle ground of saying if this happens again, we're not going to be receptive to it. It may be a good way to go. I don't know. I just want to get something out on the table for discussion purposes.
Yeah, I don't know what more they can do. And I agree with President Ohilski. They seem to be being extremely conscientious, and, I mean, I love a mystery. Don't get me wrong. But this one is it's just weird. That's a technical term.
Right. If I can interject, I spent a lot of years looking at high bills in my career, and you hit these that you just can't explain. We don't know. But you typically would want to take into the customer response both before, during their history and after. And as you've stated, this customer seems to be trying as hard as he can.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, I'll make a motion to go with the middle ground approach of General Manager Munns.
I'll second.
Do you know what that number is?
We'd have to do the calculation. We'll just apply the standard process.
As long as everybody
Understand.
Yeah, no.
So it'll be more money than your normal bill, but not as high as the final bill.
I'm not going to deviate from our standard policy.
Exactly.
That I'm not going to
Exactly.
go. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, I guess? We don't need that. Okay, we'll just, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, with that, then we'll move on to item 8B, which is a high water bill at 1028 Santa Ynez.
This is very, very, very similar. Mr. Gelderman, September bill was for 123 units, which cost just almost $1,400. Again, we did the standard investigation, looked at the meter, contacted the customer. Again, the meter read was correct, again, indicating the water passed through the meter, but it's unexplained. Again, this meter is 4 years old. And this is indicating we've been doing a lot of meter change-outs within the district, so we don't have a lot of old meters. And again, as I said, they typically read less instead of read more over their life. And again, the district policy, as we just stated. So this is a very similar case as the one we just heard.
Did we go back, did we go back like at the 4th Street property and do meter reads subsequently to verify
I
that we
don't
didn't
believe we
have a
did on this one.
ongoing leak?
I think Jose just stepped out, and he may know the work order history on this. But according to the staff report and the report I got, it didn't indicate that. But the meter read is back to normal and has been back to normal. So we're not seeing any erratic water use at the property.
So my inclination, if it's a similar case, that we treat it similarly.
Well, let's hear from the.
Are they here?
Yeah. Well, let's hear from the customer first.
Thank you. My name's Matthew Gellerman, property owner or renter at 1028 Santa Ynez. So historically, I use less than average throughout the whole community. I'm a single person and don't water my plants very often. And it's, if you look, the numbers are very, very low. And then there's this humongous spike, which on average for over a 2-month period is claiming that I've used 1,500 gallons a day on average for over a 2-month period, which is astronomical. And so when the meter was read, there was no movement on the meter. And so I did have a water leak in March of 2019, which I'd fixed. It was a main line from the meter on the property side, and I took care of that. And there was a slight increase in usage that month, but that's, historically speaking, that's been the only time that I've ever had any issues with my water. My whole yard is fenced off. My gates are locked. There's no way that anybody can get into my property and use my water. So I'm having the same sort of situation that Lars Lundgren's having with his property, where we're sort of mystified as to why this spike is occurring, other than the fact that historically, I guess he's had some issues in that September month, dating back past 2018. I, however, have not had that issue. It's just this one-time occurrence for me. So it's basically the same sort of theme here, it sounds like. And since then, I don't know if the water meter has been read by the CSD, that you guys can ask. So basically, that's what's going on my property, and I keep checking my meter every week now, and there hasn't been any issues with it whatsoever. So I'm kind of mystified as to why this is happening, and now I'm understanding it's 2 property owners with the same month, so that's kind of interesting. We're hit with basically similar reads in a 2-month period, which is, I don't know if that's odd for you guys, but it seems very odd to me, and it's very odd for me in general, just because the fact that I'm a very low usage renter here on this, Los Osos. That's it.
Any
Do you have any
questions?
questions?
Well, yeah, I guess I just have the same question. Do you have any, so you don't think there was a leak anywhere at all?
No.
Okay.
No, there's no signs of groundwater seepage, although what I do know from installing over 400 sewer laterals in the community is when the groundwater leaks, it typically doesn't come to surface because we're in ancient, alluvial sand dunes, as the water just sinks. So you won't see that. But if you look at the way the meters behave, there's no indication that there's been any issue. I did not do a repair during that time. I didn't find any leaks on my property. I'm not the kind of person that would come in here and complain about something that I fixed, looking for, a kickback on something where was a leak that, whatever. But I do know the property is old. It's I think it was built in mid-1950s or late 50s, and it does have galvanized pipes. But I did dig up quite a few sections of pipe to see if there was any areas that could have been leaking that somehow could have stopped leaking. It seems strange to me, too, that something could have been leaking at that amount, that rate, and then suddenly stopped, too, ceased without somebody going in there and fixing it. That typically wouldn't happen under that kind of pressure. We have typically between 50 and 75 pounds of pressure and more throughout the community, depending on where you're at, where you sit in Los Osos. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment.
Can I ask him a question? Oh, okay.
No. You can ask me a question.
Okay.
You have to go to the microphone, though. State your name.
Steve Vincent, Los Osos. I was wondering your next door neighbor on. Oh,
You can't talk to him.
yeah. All right.
Or you can do it.
I was wondering if his next door neighbor, who is across from Jimmy Bumps, I see a huge lot there, but no house. Is that some sort of community gardening going on over there? Maybe. Okay.
No. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, we'll bring it back.
Oh, I still feel we should treat a similar case similarly. I agree.
I move that we apply the standard that we applied to the previous case. Standard adjustment.
I was fine with that till Steve brought up that maybe the community garden was tapping into his.
But that still doesn't,
No, I mean.
okay.
All right, so somebody ought to make a motion then.
We have a motion.
A second.
Oh, I didn't know that was you formally seconded it. Okay, so we'll go again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so thank you. With that, then, we'll move on to our last item on the agenda, item 8C, a request from the property owners at 1748 Mountain View Drive.
Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Kraus, who are in the audience tonight, own a 0.8-acre parcel at 1748 Mountain View Drive. There is a map in your packet. It's a little red dot to the right side of our service area if you're trying to find it. It's unique that it's outside the prohibition zone, but inside our water district, and it does have a certified county well on it. And a little bit of background, back in 2017, the Krauses were granted a well permit from the county without opposition from the district, since we have no regulation in our district code that speaks to well use, whether we allow wells to be installed or used in any way. The code is silent. In April 2019, the Krauses approached the district asking if the district would object to the parcel being developed using that well that was drilled in 2017. And based on the prior direction back in 2017 and the fact that we were in a stage 3 drought and not issuing new water services, The staff did not register any opposition at that time. In September of this year, the county approached the district and was asking for something in writing from the district saying we officially approve of the variance for this property not to connect to the water system so they could move forward and to build a single-family home. At that point, I felt I did not have that authority and to make that decision and wanted a board direction. Per County Code Title 19.07.041, which is also part of your packet, the county will not accept a building application until the direction is provided by the district. I have to apologize, in my staff report at the bottom, page 1, it kind of contradicts, but I learned something in between time when we printed this, and so I apologize for that little discrepancy there. In the conversations with the Krauses over the past couple of months, they are requesting to move forward with their project using the well, but also are agreeable to connecting to our system once we are allowed to provide new water services. So taking this into account, staff has 3 alternatives for your consideration to address the Krauses' request to proceed. Alternative 1 is to allow the Krauses to use their well as their sole potable water supply without any future connection to the district water system. Alternative 2, which is the staff recommendation, is to provide a conditional intent to serve approval with the condition that the project can serve install all the needed hardware and appurtenances to connect to our system and pay all fees. And then once the drought 3 restrictions are gone, that they would become a district customer. And 3, deny the variance and at this time, which would then make them have to wait for a time we could hook them up. It is important to understand that the project will be subject to all Title 19 requirements, which means they'll have to do the water offsets at a 2-to-1 ratio, adhere to the Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance, and all other codes that apply to building a single-family development. And just for reference, in this block of Mountain View, there are 6 developed properties, of which 4 have district water service. 2 of those 4 have wells, so they'd be kind of like where the Krauses would end up, and 2 are completely disconnected from our system and have standalone wells. But it's important to also understand that all these properties have fire protection provided by the district's water system. Back on October 18th, the UAC concurred with the staff recommendation, which is the alternative 2. And also in the financial impact, there really isn't any financial impact at this point because there still is a long process in front of the Krauses if we do agree to alternative 2. And I also did want to point out that they did supply a letter that summarized their position. With that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions?
So if they're doing alternative 2, they'll have to pay for a water system with the well and to connect?
Yes.
But we're kind of stuck doing that because we are not doing any will serves until the level 3 is lifted?
Right.
Okay.
I have a question about alternative 2, so we're with a condition that the project install a water service line and all appurtenances. First of all, who ensures that happens? Would that be county building?
Yeah, it'd be county building, because that would be the condition and before they could get finaled for occupancy, all that would have to be in place. So basically, what we would do, and they'd have to have the, on their side of the meter in place installed as well. So basically, when we're able to set a meter, we could just go put it in and start charging them as a customer.
How do we ensure that county building puts that as a condition for the building permit?
They've requested that from us when I talked to them, so it would be.
So is that something because we have to provide documentation to them that we're going to allow the well, so is that something we draft in that document, or is that something separate?
Yes, it would be something that we draft in that document.
Okay.
Okay. Would the Krauses like to speak?
Would you like us to?
It's up to you.
It's up to us. We've been waiting a long time. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we are Ray and Tammy Kraus, and like everyone who's visited Los Osos more than twice, we'd like to live here. And to that end, for the past 10 years, we've visited your community in Sylvesterburger once a month. It's become a tradition with us. 3 years ago, we found a derelict piece of property that we love, in that I guess nobody else wanted it. It's been vacant and undeveloped for over 70 years. To that end, we have first contacted back in 2017 the CSD to request a water hookup, and were at that time told we were not in the district. It wasn't to be the last time we were told that. That has since been resolved, and we know where we are, and glad we are, because the proposal by the advisory board, proposal number 2, is not what we came forward with, because we don't know what to ask for. So we asked the CSD to hook us up. We have 2 in writing denials for that. So the next step was to go to the county, because we'd like to replant 10 Monterey pines that were killed, torn down, or whatever, that were original to that subdivision. We have one tiny little sprout survivor that we've nourished the last 3 years, and he's doing really well. But that's true. I want to see these trees grow while there's still time for me to see them grow. And so we put in an agricultural well, the county having cleared it with y'all before giving us the permit. We installed all underground utilities. I understand now that it's required, but we did it for aesthetics. And some good news that we got is that your 6-inch water main runs along in front of our property on our side of the road, and already has a hookup going under the road already to the neighbors across the street. So there's already a fitment and a water line running directly in front of our proposed dwelling location. So there wouldn't be any drilling under the road. Nice new surfaced road on Mountain View. So we can only say that we appreciate your time and consideration. And
Any questions? Thank you.
I just have one. So the ag well, so did you already get approval from County Health to make that a potable well?
when that well was
For domestic
installed,
use.
we installed it and paid the additional to make it sealed, and it was approved by the county. In fact, we have instructions from the county on converting it, but not without your permission, to a domestic use. Also, we have all of the labs required for using it for domestic use. The only concern from the labs was we're 4 points over the 10 milligrams per liter of nitrates, not 30, but 4. And I have a civil engineer that did the revamp of the Avila Beach water system when they revamped Avila Beach, in writing telling us that, yes, we can solve that with filtration. And that's what we intend to do, is to solve those 4 points. She contends that we can remove all of it with filtration and not water wasting reverse osmosis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment on this item? Yeah, Julie? Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Julie Tacker, and welcome to Los Osos. It's a complicated place, but it's worth it. I find this a most unfortunate situation. They came to the district, and they got bad intel. They went to the expense to build a well without this very policy question that's before you today at that time. This we don't want more wells in Los Osos. This is very unfortunate that they drilled a well, and I'm sure they spent a lot of money on it. That amount of money could have paid for a lot of water through our system, and the district would have realized that revenue. So I feel like we're to blame. The district is to blame for the situation these people are in. And we should have, again, that policy question should have come to the board much, much earlier. The stage 3 denial when they had the right to build a well hurts us because the district, again, doesn't realize the revenue. And the same amount of water is going to go out of the basin. So that is very unfortunate in my mind, and I would ask that you actually provide the service, override the stage 3 denial, provide the service and ask them not to use the well.
Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close. Oh.
I wasn't going to say anything until the last part of Julie's comment, but overriding sets a precedent. You're going to have other people coming. I'm just telling you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. So can I just clarify? I have a question to clarify. The UAC recommended your alternative 2, is that correct? Okay. I thought you said that, but yes. I wasn't clear on that. All right, further discussion?
Okay, do you want to go?
Okay. I'm amenable to alternative 2. I do think, though, that we got into this spot because we don't have policy on this exactly. And if we did, it would have been a lot more clear-cut for our potential customers as well as this board. So I think one of the questions that is generated in my mind is how many more instances of this are possible, because there's not a plethora of lots out there with this same situation, but are there others, and is it something that we need to address in policy?
The best I can tell is there may be no more properties like this outside the prohibition zone and large enough to be able to get a well permit. There may be that I don't see after I've kind of went through the district service area and looked at the land use, but this could be the only one.
Okay.
There are some larger parcels, but they're inside the prohibition zone. Mm-hmm. So unless they get carved out somehow, I don't see it happening.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ron and I had a discussion, and I looked into this too, and this was the only parcel we were able to identify that this potentially fell through the cracks, for lack of a better term. So.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Okay.
So I kind of agree either way, they're going to be using the same basin water. So I would rather they hook up, especially if it isn't an issue that we're going to have many, many more people come, and just not make them go through 2 expenses for water, to use the same water. And we would benefit, I have to agree. At least we could, with the well, we don't make any revenue.
Well, I can't see overriding the level 3 policy at this point, so I'm supportive of the Utility Advisory Committee recommendation.
Okay, well, if we can't override it, then.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Okay, I move I move that the board allow the project to proceed and provide the conditional intent to serve letter with the conditions, alternative to that the project install a water service line to the property, all appurtenances required to connect the property to the water system, pay the appropriate fees, and establish a water account when the district exits Stage 3 drought restrictions.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, discussion of pulled consent items. There was none. Future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Okay, closing board comments.
I just want to add that most people should have gotten a flyer in Los Osos about solid waste rate increases, which are substantial, over 25%. I just wanted to point out that there is a way to protest that by writing to the clerk at the County of San Luis Obispo Administrative Office. And only a majority protest would actually prevent those changes.
Any other comment? I'll just go ahead and remind about the needs and wishes on December 14th, the Christmas parade on December 14th, and the tree lighting on December 13th. So those three items. All right, with that, we'll be adjourned. Just for the informational sakes here, our next meeting will not be our normal day, which is the first Thursday of the month, but in December, we're actually going to have it on the 12th, which is the second Thursday of the month. So I just want, for anybody who's wondering, that's when our next meeting will be. Okay, with that, then we'll be adjourned. Thank you. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.